everyone. I'm glad to be here today. Now, I imagine that you're here today because you are interested in preserving the principles that have made our country so great. And unfortunately, there are many ideals that America was founded upon that are very much under attack right now. And unfortunately, it has come from both parties. And a lot of people voted for President Obama under the pretense that he was promising change. Now, unfortunately, we've seen that that means more of the same accelerated. But we faced that kind of adversity before in our country, and in fact, it was the catalyst for the creation of our nation. Actually, the original Boston Tea Party, which happened on December 16th, 1773.
Louder.
Oh, louder, I'm sorry. The original Boston Tea Party, which happened on December 16th, 1773, was actually a rally against a government-funded corporate bailout. What was happening was the British government they were giving the East India Tea Company, who was going bankrupt, really a government-funded monopoly. They were the only ones that were allowed to import tea into the colonies. And, of course, this tea was taxed. Now, the colonists, they had been smuggling tea into the colonies, and the British government was aware of this, so what they did was they said, let's make the tea that we are making the colonists accept cheaper than the tea they'll smuggle in. You know, they figured that the people would fall for the free money scheme. I mean, a lot of people today fall for that. I mean, think about cash for clunkers. So, you know, there are lots of similarities with what was going on, and what happened was the colonists, they actually recognized what was going on. They said, no, this is not right. We recognize that this tea is cheaper, but we reject the idea that the government can come in and force us to buy this taxed tea, and even though it was cheaper, that they recognized that the government shouldn't be picking and choosing winners in the marketplace. And so the colonists said, absolutely not, this tea is not coming ashore. We oppose the entire principle that this is based on. So in Boston, Sam Adams and the Sons of Liberty went into the streets, and they for 20 days, they protested this ship being in Griffin Wharf in Boston. And on the 20th day that it was there, December 16th, it was supposed to be leaving. British precedent wouldn't allow a ship to stay in port more than 20 days with unloaded goods. So, it was supposed to leave. The captain of the ship actually tried to leave. He had come to one of Sam Adams' meetings at the Old South Meeting House. He was actually kind of on board with the idea of what the colonists were doing. But Governor Hutchinson, who had faced a lot of adversity from the colonists who were opposing him, he said, no, absolutely not. We're going to circumvent the law, and we are still going to get this tea on the shore. We are still going to tax it. Absolutely not. So that's why the colonists responded as they did on the day of the Boston Tea Party. And actually, a little known fact is that 3 other ships, one in Charleston, South Carolina, one in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and one in New York City, New York, they had already tried to go ashore, and the colonists protested them there, but they left. So the circumstance in Boston was such that it was an extraordinary thing. People didn't expect that the ship would stay, and that's why the colonists did what they did by throwing the tea offshore. And I think that a lot of people, when you think about the politically correct way history is taught, want to teach our children that, oh, it was just an angry mob. They were mad because, you know, there were too many taxes on them. But it wasn't really about that. It was principled opposition to the idea that the government can control the corporate world. And that is really what happened on that day. The colonists rejected the idea that the government can tax them without representation and pick and choose who was allowed to run, basically the business, you know, the tea business was a very big business back then. So unfortunately, that's the way we're taught it, but really there's a bigger story to it, and it's something that relates very much to what's going on today. We're seeing all the corporate bailouts, we're seeing the government encroachment further and further into our lives, and I think that as a tribute to our founders and the principles that our nation really are based on, we need to remember this story, and we need to recall what it is our founders did, and act in a principled manner that emulates their behavior, because if we don't do that, we're selling them short, and we're selling ourselves short, and we're selling the generation of our children short. I'm only 22, and I'm very much worried about the direction our country is going in. I'm even more worried about the direction the country will be going in when I have kids. So it's up to all of us to preserve the ideas our country was founded upon and get the government out of our lives, out of the marketplace, and stop its interference in our lives. Thank you.